Greetings, YouTube world of interconnected living beings. We got some interesting stuff for you today. We're beginning the fifth chapter of Phaladipika. And why is it so interesting? Because it's going to start to get into his techniques that he uses to interpret the charts. The first technique is about career. So today we're going to have 3 techniques to determine the person's career from their birth chart, and we'll test it out on me, my mom, and my dad. We'll use those 3 charts. The 5th chapter is very, very small. It's very short. I'll give you a look at it. Wait, you have to look at this. You see that it's called Panchamodhyaya, 5th chapter, and then the title of it is Karma Jiva Prakarana, which means career. How you obtain your living, basically. How you earn a living. Karma Jiva Prakarana. And then you can see how long, or rather how short it is. You've seen the whole chapter now. I think you can fit the whole chapter on the screen at once. So it's 9 texts. And here they are, Romanized, and then here's an example of what we'll look at today. The first one. So there's only 9 texts in this whole thing because this whole chapter is just one technique, which is kind of has 3 parts to it, maybe just 3 techniques, 3 very related techniques. So the first text here is going to explain the 3 steps, or the 3 parts of the technique. Then he's going to give 7 texts, one for each planet, because one of his statements is look at the 10th house from such and such and see what planet's there. And that planet will tell you about the person's career. So then he gives one statement per planet about what that planet says about the career. So that comes up to 8 texts, and then he finishes up with a closing statement. I can't really remember right now. Something about judging on since you have several things, and conclusion statement is how you balance out the opinions or the views of the several techniques, or if there's several planets that you're seeing using strength, using Bala. All right, so it's going to be a nice short chapter that we study on this one technique. It's pretty concise. We'll just do it this week and next week. And let's get into it. Let me show you. Oh, wait, let me set this up. Boom. Okay, that's nice and fast. Oh, it comes off the side of the page onto my face. 1 second. What is this? Yeah, let's do that. All right, so here you have techniques for determining the career from Phaladipika, Chapter 5, Text 1. Boom. So let's check out what he says. Artapti katayet vilagna shashino prabalyata kechare. What does it mean? And he guesses artapti katayet. All right, here's what it means. Sorry. The ascendant, moon, and most powerful planet describe one's means of earning a living. The ascendant, moon, and most powerful planet describe one's means of earning a living. So he's talking about the means of earning a living. Arta apta. Apta means to become enriched with something. And arta means wealth, money. So how do you get money? How do you procure money? Katayet. this will tell the planets will tell you about this. Notice the way this astrologers think about astrology, the basic outlook towards astrology. This particular astrologer, Mantreshwar, his outlook with astrology has fidelity to the original outlook on it, which was that the planets are telling us things. It's not until much later with, what's his name? Ptolemy, that we start to hear about planets doing things to us. But now that's all you hear about with the YouTube and Cosmo astrology. Planets will do things to you. They control your fate, or they determine your fate. That's not the original concept of astrology. The original concept is the planets tell you about what's going to happen. They're symbols, but that you can decode to understand what's going to happen in your life or anywhere in the world. Our tapti katayet. So this, what we'll talk about the person's means of earning a living, what we'll describe or kata tell you about the person's means of earning a living. The lagna, the V lagna means the ascendant. Shashi, the moon. And Prabal Kechara. Kechara is any planet, and Prabal means the one that's powerful. So he says there's three things to look at that will tell you how the person earns a living. The ascendant, the moon, and the most powerful planet. Capiche? You understand? So far, simple. And this is actually quite useful. Now, this next bit. Karma sthai patri matri shatra vasurit pratradibhi stri danat brityadva dinanat lagna shashinam madhye baliyam stata. What's that mean? Any guess? I mean, anybody recognize any of these words? You probably recognize some of these words. Karma. Well, what's that going to be about? Karma, the means of earning a living. Karma is also the name for the 10th house. Karma means your activity. Karma is also a name for the 10th house. Karma sthai. Stha. Staying. Situated. The planet that's situated in the karma bhava, the 10th house. Patri. Papa. Matri. Mama. Shatra. Enemies. Surit, good hearts. Bratra, brothers. Stri, ladies. Dhana, wealth. Pritya, employees, dependents. So there's a lot of words that you might actually know. Dinanata, the lord of the day, the sun. Lagna, the ascendant. Shashi, the moon. Madhye, baliyams, bala. Shatbala, bala, strength. So you might be able to start using Sanskrit. So what is he saying? Planets in the 10th position from the sun, ascendant, and moon show the source of income, and they should be ordered by strength. That's about half. That's the stuff that's in green. Karma sthai dina nata lagna shashinam madhye baliyam stata. So the dina nata, the karma sthai from Dinanata, the 10th position from the sun. So for example, if the sun is in Aries, then the 10th position from the sun is Capricorn. If the sun is in Taurus, then the 10th position from the sun is Aquarius. If the sun is in Gemini, then the 10th position from the sun is Pisces. If the sun is in Cancer, then the 10th position from the sun is Aries. So you do that for the sun, you do it for the ascendant. If the ascendant is in Capricorn, then the 10th position from the ascendant is Libra. That's karma, bhav. Sun, ascendant, and moon. The planet that occupies the 10th position from those 3 points shows danat, how you get money, or who the money comes from. This particular part of the technique, my judgment is reserved. Anyway, we'll try it out on 3 charts and see. But this is going to be the one So we should at least wait until we finish the chapter to judge the technique. This is the one that he's going to expand upon in the next 7 texts. The whole chapter has only 9 texts. There's this one, and then there's 7 that are about this particular line, where he says planets in the 10th position. Oh no, I'm wrong. He's actually going to expand on the next line. He just expands on it right here. Patri matri shatrava surit pratradi bistridana prityat. So what's that other bit? Sun is fathering or fathers. Moon is mothering or mothers. Mars is enemies or... So he's talking about how will you gain money? So you gain money through enemies. Basically, you'll gain money through hostility or competition. If Mars is in the 10th position from the Sun or the Ascendant or the Moon. So, what kind of actual careers could that be? You could make weapons. You could make sneakers for runners to compete against each other. You could make tennis rackets. You could do something with sports. You could do something with beauty competitions, like if there's Venus and Mars in there. Like there's all kinds of ways that war doesn't have to literally be physical war. Similarly with father, that could mean government and stuff like that. You could work with government. Mothering, I'm not sure. That could mean nurturing, nursing, medicine, feeding, restaurants industry. So Patri Matri Shatrava Surit is Mercury. Mercury is so social, people that make money from social things or friendly things or by connecting things. So this would also be for salesmen. Mercury is very good for connecting markets and buyers, connecting people. People in media, obviously people in media. Mercury, because they're setting up a social environment, they're creating a social environment, they're connecting people. Media is the connection between people. That's what it means, medium, in between. Jupiter is Bhatradibi, which means fraternal or from brothers. Like literally what the text is saying is, if you have the sun in the 10th house from your lagna, then you probably make money from your dad. From your lagna or from your moon, then if you have the moon in the 10th house from the ascendant or from the sun, then you probably make money from your mom. If you have Mars in the 10th house from the ascendant or the sun or the moon, then you probably make money from your enemy. That's literally the symbolism that it's presenting. But astrology is a whole metaphor, so you have to try to understand the whole thing. And he's saying you ascertain which would be more dominant than the other by the terms of the strength. So if you have Mars and Venus in the 10th house of your sun and moon, then if Venus is more powerful than Mars, then you would probably be primarily working in the Venus industry, which is feminine industries, with the Mars twist on it, with the Mars angle on it, independence, bringing independence and self-reliance into femininity. Or bringing sports or something into feminine competition. Whereas if it's the other way around, you have Mars is more prominent than Venus, then it's primarily a masculine, competitive environment. But you're bringing feminine element like arts or something, or refinement into that. That's what he means by madhyabaliyam stata, by ordering it up by strength. And if it's Saturn, then it's brityat, which means you earn your money through your employees or through services, by performing services for people. So being an employee, a simpler career. I'm not so sure about the technique. We'll have to try it out on many charts and see how it works, because obviously most people are employees. So, but probably not most people have Saturn, to a commensurate degree in the 10th house. So we have to try to test out the technique until we really understand what the heck he's talking about. This is really astrological archaeology. We're doing archaeology on these 14th century techniques that we have never heard of before. Yes, that's right, Catherine. She says, good thing I have your report, which conveniently tells me my strongest planet. It's very important. That's why it's one of the first calculations I do. You would do Bala. It's basically Bala. But if you really want to do a complete Bala, you also have to do, it's the alignment of the planet to other things is going to then scale the Bala. No, you just look at the 10th for this career technique. You look at the 10th from these three key points: Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. The 11th might be something else. He might introduce another technique where you use the same basic thing, but you use the 11th house. Zena says, could Mars-Venus combination with a Venus dominant be someone who is an athlete by trade, but gains a lot more money via being an Instagram model? I think it would be the other way around. I mean, this is archaeology. I'm unearthing this technique. I have not worked with it, but my instinct is that it would be the other way around. A person who's making more money enjoying a makeup habit, being an Instagram model, that's the primary source of income, then Venus would be the primary Bala, have the most power. And the fact that they have a great body or became famous because they're an athlete is the supporting thing. So that's what I think. And then Xavier brings up another thing. What if there's no planet in the 11th and the 10th from a planet? That's another problem that I have with this particular technique. Like, there's going to be quite a few charts where there's not a planet. So you have to, here I'm presenting you this technique. Go and look, go and work with it over many, many charts, and so you learn what it actually is and what it's not. Notes that he's not going to care about notes. And that sounds good, Catherine. Aspects for being a psychologist or a healer. I mean, it's Mooney. Mothering. It's basically the mother's job. Okay, that's the second bit of the technique. The first bit, and they're in order. And my feeling from the little that I've worked with this so far, my feeling is they're actually in an order of importance. The main thing to do is the ascendant, the moon, and the most powerful planet describe the means of earning a living. Secondarily, if there is a planet in the 10th house from the sun, the moon, and the ascendant, then that planet also describes the source. It's not the same exact thing as the previous thing, which is the means of earning a living, but the source through which the money actually comes. Who are the customers, really, he seems to be saying. Who are the customers, or what is the service that earns you the money? Artapti katayat vilagna shashino prabalyata kechara karmastai patri shatra vasurit karmastai patrimatri, probably shouldn't be patri. Karmastai patrimatri shatra vasurit bratra dibha sridanat Prityadvadinanata lagna shashinam madde baliyams tata. And then the last, what happened? And then the last line, Karmesha sthanavangsha rashi pa vashad vritim jagustat vida. Karmesha, can you guess what that means? If you know, karma means activities, and karma is also the name for the 10th house, which is the house about your activities. And what's Karma Esha? Esha means a master, a lord. Karma Esha means the lord of the 10th. Karma Esha Sthana, the house or the position of the lord of the 10th. Karma Esha Sthana Vangsha Va Amsha Rasi. So Va is like or end or here, an end in this case, more likely. Amsha Rasi Pa. Pa means Pati, or similar to Esha. Rashi Pa is the lord of the sign of the Amsha. Probably means the Navamsha. Karmesha Sthana Vamsha. This Va might be interesting word to understand. He may be allowing us to look at both the D1 and the D9 by using the word Va. They might be saying, look for the Karmesha Sthana, the position of the Lord of the 10th house, and also the Lord of the Navamsha of that position. And that will show Vishad Vritim Jagustad Vida, which to me, Vishad means under force or unavoidable. Vritti means business or activity. And this will tell you, you'll be able to know about Tadvida. And Jagus means something too, like controlled or flowing in this direction. The basic nature, basically means the basic nature or the constant activity that constitutes the person's career. So the Lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th Lord reveals the type of business. And this is the statement that he's now going to explain in 7 more statements to give you almost the complete these next 7 statements. I still haven't really broken them apart. This one is for the sun. If the Lord of the Navamsha Rashi is the sun, then these are the types of careers. If it's the moon, then these are the types of the careers. If it's Mars, then these are the type of careers. Okay, so what I would do next is test this out. Basically, there's 3 components to this. There's the first one up at the top, the ascendant, moon, and most powerful planet describe one's means of earning a living. Let's see how that actually looks on 3 charts. Then the next bit is planets in the 10th position from the sun, ascendant, and moon show the source of income. So let's see how that looks in the same 3 charts. And then the Lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th Lord reveals the type of business. Let's see how that looks, although we recognize that we're going to have to wait till next week to hear these next 7 statements, which give his idea of the details. But I'll look ahead a little bit for you, bring you some coming attractions. Good. Okay, let's take a look at this. So what we're going to use, these charts are going to be me, my dad, and my mom. Which is also just going to be humorous because you're going to see what a humorous nuclear family we are. I'm also the only child, so it's like comedic. You could see what it's like to grow up in that household. So this is my chart. So the first technique is this: the ascendant, moon, and most powerful planet describe one's means of earning a living. All right, so what does it say then about this person? Capricorn is the ascendant. So what does that say about the person? About their means of earning a living? Well, you got these traits of Capricorn. The ones that I would think of are hardworking or service, or like servile. Hardworking or servile. Almost voluntary. But that's more Aquarian than Capricorn. But pretty working your fingers to the bone type of thing is Capricorn. And then also Capricorn is critical or cold and corrective. Those are the things that I could think of. If you look at more and more charts, I'm sure you'll get more and more finer details or certain basic things that escape your attention in the beginning. Then we have, that's the ascendant. What about the moon? Well, the moon is in Gemini in the 6th house. So what should this tell you about my career? All right, so you have this Gemini. Some traits of Gemini must be involved in the career. So expressions, communications, communicative, talkative, a lot of words. Gemini's smart. I mean, it involves IQ. It involves thinking. I mean, there could be other things. I'm kind of putting the things that are relevant to me. You could have social, right? Gemini's social. It could even be trade-oriented. But what the trick, what he's saying is madhye prabala tata. You mix the things together. So you want to think about how Gemini mixes with Capricorn. You establish the ascendant as Capricorn, and that gives you your foundation of the recipe. Now, are you working with pasta, or are you working with udon, or are you working with rice? Now you know that from the ascendant. Now you're going to add the sauce in. That's going to be the moon's evaluation. It's not going to change the rice into pasta. It's going to work with the base. Okay, so probably expressive with Capricorn as the base. It's expressing, like salt is expressing the flavor of the inherent that's in the food. So the Capricorn nature is going to become more verbalized. And then because it's in the 6th house, it's going to probably involve problem solving or confrontations or fixing things that need fixing. That might be more 8th. Dealing with conflicts, arguments or contests. So, and then we're supposed to do this also for the most powerful planet. So, the most powerful planet in this chart is Jupiter, when all the calculations are said and done. The reason is simply that Jupiter has a high Shadbala and also is very influential on the rest of the chart. Some of the red flags or green flags for you to find the most influential planet is to look for the planet that has a very similar degree to the ascendant. That's likely going to wind up being the most influential planet, or definitely a very influential planet. Why? Because then the aspects from this planet will possibly affect the ascendant and certainly affect several of the houses, and that gives it prominence. Alternatively, or also look at how the degree of the planet lines up with the degree of other planets. Then they'll get effect on each other. So in this case, the ascendant is 25. Mercury is exactly 25, but Jupiter is 28, close to 25, and it's in the 10th house, which is so empowering, and it's the only planet in the Kendra. It's the only planet that's central in the chart. So this Jupiter now is going to talk about the means of earning a living, especially because it's also in the 10th house from the ascendant, which is the second technique. So what is this Jupiter? Well, Jupiter has to do with teaching. It also has to do with childbirth or reproduction. It's in Libra, so you expect some kind of liberalism or progressivism or arts or aesthetics. This will go along with the Gemini thing. And then it's going to be an interesting mix now. It's Libra, Jupiter, Gemini, and Capricorn. So it's a pretty complicated recipe. It's not all the same thing. Capricorn can be quite conservative. Capricorn can be quite unyielding. But Gemini is very yielding and forward, and Libra is very liberal. So it's an odd mix. And then this planet is in the 10th house, so it's like leading or governing or commanding. So this is supposed to describe my career. Can you figure out the aspects of the career? Certainly, you definitely can. I mean, but this is how the astrology actually feels in the mind of the astrologer. It's not like a little smurf comes out of the chart and says the person's a hairdresser. Goodbye. Or the person will work on the set of Star Wars 95. See you later. Thanks for the, you get these ingredients of the recipe, and you kind of have to imagine what the recipe tastes like. But really, this is pretty good. It's not going to put you in left field. It's going to put you in the ballpark of what I do. Teaching with a lot of communication and words, a lot of problem solving, a lot of confrontation or argument, a lot of correcting or criticism, a lot of authority, like going from Sanskrit books, since it's the 10th house, you kind of feeling commanding feeling. Mostly teaching or helping or guiding. So you're in the right ballpark. Now, do when you're getting used to a technique, if you just look at your chart, it's not good enough. You got to look at least 3 charts. At least 3 charts. And pick people who are quite different. Or actually, the reason why I think my mom, and my dad are a good example, a good 3 to use together, is because my dad and I are kind of a little bit similar. And my mom's very different than the both of us. So that's a good template to use when you're testing ideas. Take one person, that just whoever you pick, then pick somebody else that's like them. The technique should work similarly for that person, and pick somebody that's not like them. You shouldn't get the same results. You know, if you want to see if such and such and such makes a person tall and thin, pick 2 people who are tall and thin and one person who's short and fat, and test it on those 3 charts. No, we don't include nodes. A little Smurf, Zeno, a film critic. I think this person could be a film critic, right? This person could be a film critic. Why? Because the basis of the chart is Capricorn, so they could do anything that's involving criticism. Then they have the moon in Gemini, so they could do anything that's about media and communication and expression. But the final thing here, Jupiter doesn't really push into that direction. If it was Venus or Mercury that was the most prominent planet, it would probably go way strongly and more in that direction. But now it becomes more teachy or heavy, important things, philosophical things, moral things. All right, next up, my papa. Look at that chart. Is this guy's same chart as me? Almost, right? Same ascendant. Capricorn, 22 degrees. The funny thing is, if you look at a picture of my dad and a picture of me, you're just like, did Vic just age 25 years? Or did Vic's dad just get 25 years younger? All right, so these charts look pretty similar. We even both have 3 planets in the 8th house. But there's some very crucial differences. Anyway, the ascendant, the moon, and the most powerful planet describe one's means of earning a living. Let's check it out for my dad. I won't tell you what he does for a living until we get to the end. He's got a Capricorn ascendant too, so let's put the same things here and try not to be too biased. Just right, well, whatever we thought it was before, let's keep it. Then he's got the moon in Sagittarius. So he's got it on the opposite side of the zodiac from me. He's got it in Sagittarius and in the 12th house. So we need to think about that. Sagittarius is like teaching, giving information. And then 12th house, what could this bring into the picture? It's in a foreign place. He's an isolated, it's not a spotlight type of a career. He's unseen. He might deal with non-physical things, maybe spiritual things. And then his most powerful planet, I'm pretty sure it's also Jupiter. Oh, it's K2. Jupiter is the second most powerful planet. His most powerful planet is K2. So you would want to decide whether you want to use K2 and Rahu or not. If not K2, you're going to use Jupiter, which is it's in the same sign. Anyway, K2, unseen things again. So it's really now, the moon is in the 12th house and K2 is the most powerful planet. Unseen, K2 is future, past, and it's technology and magic oriented, research oriented, could have to do with film, could have to do with oil. It's in Scorpio, so the career must have to do with something secret, something possessive, something passionate. It's in the 11th house, so it must have to do with finance, money, or entertainment. So is this guy a film critic? Maybe if he had the moon where I have the moon, he would have been able to go that way to be a film critic. But he doesn't have that Gemini there in the second as the sauce of the recipe. And really, neither of our houses are really good for, moon houses are good for being a film critic, because they're both serious houses, the 6th and 12th. What is he then? Is he like a spiritual teacher or something? It's not that likely. Why is it not likely? It's just the reason why it's not likely is the 11th house on K2. So what is he? What do you think? Any ideas? Yes, Zena, very good. Yes, Sally. Yeah, good, Gory. Thank you, UD. Yeah, he's in software. Detective is pretty good. Counseling or psychological research, Lolita suggests. You know what? My dad is he would be good at that. A bit. He considered majoring that. He actually majors in physics, which is ridiculous. But this guy is a software engineer. And well, what the heck is this stuff about? So if you never did software, then you have no idea how this relates to Capricorn. But if you ever created software, then you know that this is all Capricorn. Because very little of software is creation. Most of it is fixing. Most of it is fixing problems, finding problems and fixing them. So Capricorn is very well suited to software development or any kind of technology development. Then he's got K2 as the most prominent planet, so he's going to get involved in something with tech, because technology equals magic, and that's what these planets, Rahu, K2, represent. The 12th house, unseen, isolated, foreign. This is a little subtext to his thing. This is another reason why, practically speaking, you shouldn't try to fit your astrology to match results. You should let your astrology tell you what the results are, and just be open about it. Because if the guy told you, I'm a software engineer, you'd be like, oh shit, why is the moon is in the 12th house? It's nothing. And he didn't tell you that his primary clients are Japanese or Suzuki and stuff like that. That's some of his primary clients, or that he deals with Mexico all the time. And he has very, very little business actually in his home country. But if you trust the astrology and you reveal it openly, then the person will be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because if they also have to be thoughtful. So that's one thing about his moon in the 12th house. How does it explain his career? It would say he's dealing with foreigners, sharing a living. And also, he's behind the scenes. Nobody sees his face. Nobody knows who he is. If you go to a movie, there was for like 10 years or something. If you went to a movie theater and ordered the tickets on the machine, this was actually in California, you're probably using his software. But, nobody saw him. Nobody knew that. So it's a very 12th house influence on it. Teaching, info giving. He's dealing with information technology. Non-physical. Works out to be electrical. And then the other thing, well, what about the finance, entertainment? Or if it's Jupiter, then it's even more so like it should be in finance. If you take Jupiter as the more prominent planet in the 11th house in Scorpio, it's finance. Ultimately, the major clients is banks and ATM software. Those automated teller machine softwares. My son grew up playing with ATM machines, and then we bought him because of his grandpa, we bought him a toy ATM machine. So, he used to know the insides of the ATM machines and all that stuff. So this is kind of interesting. On 2 charts, it looks kind of interesting, and you can see the kind of level of it. And honestly, this is kind of the level of accurate astrology. It gets you to be able to interpret it correctly if you have a clear mind, and maybe there's a bit of luck involved and you make the right connections. It's not the Smurf. D9 we'll see in a second. Counsel for the mob of the Corleone family. No, actually, we had opportunities to, because we're Italians from New York, but we certainly didn't. Me, my dad. All right, now let's check somebody who's quite different. My mom. Is this the same chart? This is why I say it's comical. These are the 3 people that spent 20 years together or something. My dad, my mom, and me. I mean, it's even more comical how similar her chart is to my dad's as well as to me. So this is a good test then. Here's a very similar looking chart, but these people, they do not have similar careers whatsoever. None of the 3 of us have similar careers. Although I also did work in computer, IT software and all that. And as you can see, I still work with it a lot. I mean, here I am on YouTube. All right, so let's check it out for my mom. So again, Ascendant is Capricorn. So what kind of sense does it mean? Hardworking, service, critical, corrective. She also, like my dad, has Sagittarius 12th house moon. So it's the same bit there. Teaching, info giving, isolated, foreign, unseen, non-physical. Her most powerful planet happens to be Venus. It's not really close to 26 degrees, is it? And it's not that everybody's most powerful planet is equally powerful, and this is kind of an important point. But it's because of how it lines up with the rest of the planets, especially Sun and Moon. So those are the 3 things you want to check. And then it has a high bala, inherent bala. So anyway, Venus, that's quite different than my dad's or me, although I have Libra. So Venus being her most prominent planet, we expect something feminine, fashion, beauty, art. It's in Taurus, so you expect something to do with children or family or beauty or health. Maybe farming. You could add that into the list. The 5th house, so it has to do with children or creativity or IQ or expression. So what is she? What do you think? What's her career? And how would you make sense of it? It's not, they're not in the same nakshatra. Wait a minute, they must be in the same nakshatra. I think I'll have to check. Is she a travel agent or an organizer of sorts? Maybe an event planner or possibly an art gallery owner. Let me see if I can make sense of why you said those things. Is she a travel agent? This makes sense with the 12th house moon, but doesn't really lend itself to Capricorn ascendant, and is kind of neutral to Venus. So is she an event planner? There's no Mercury here anywhere in her chart. So it's highly doubtful that there's no Mercury here in these three factors that we examined. Not a Mercury sign, not a Mercury planet. So I doubt she's doing anything social, like planning events or something like that. Nor an art gallery, which is a social place. What else? Mothering children, a nurse. Sitting at a desk, no. Choir, teacher, children, or women's health. So yeah, look, this is what my mom, I forget what age, but she went to beauty school and became a beautician. That's what they called them in the old days, a hairdresser. And then I think by the time I was 8, something like 8 years old, she just stopped and then just took care of me. There's no need for money because my dad was earning plenty of money. So she just felt like she would take care. So basically we're going to call her a hairdresser / mom. Now, how the heck does that relate to Capricorn? Right? It's the service industry. You have to realize that hairdressing is servile work. You're basically like a valet to a person. So actually, any kind of service industry, like even a makeup artist and anything, you can get that from a Capricorn ascendant. If you mix in enough Venus. So actually you're seeing really this, what my feeling is so far with these three charts, the ascendant is kind of important, the moon is kind of important, but the most powerful planet is really, really, really important for telling you the type of career the person has. So service industry is compatible with the Capricorn ascendant. What about this isolated foreigners in the 12th house? Well, she doesn't really have much of a career. She's not really a career person. It's with K2 as well. So I believe that may be discernible. But then you would maybe step on the same trap with my dad, right? Because my dad has that same placement. He's got the moon in the 12th, but he has a big career. Why? Well, let's look at, this is just the first of the 3 steps. Let's see if there's something else that will help us figure that out. And then, but Venus is really the thing that gives it to you clear. So it's beauty because there's Venus in Taurus in the 5th house. That's our most prominent planet. And it's also mothering because it's Venus in Taurus in the 5th house. Oh, this is interesting. Mazal says my mom is also a hairdresser, and I'm a Capricorn moon. All right, let's look now. I got more stuff for you. I didn't do a good job of organizing the animation, but let's look at me. The Lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th Lord reveals the type of business. Well, this is the 3rd technique, right? The Lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th Lord reveals the type of business. So how do we figure this out? Look at my chart. The Lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th Lord. So who's the 10th Lord? The 10th Lord is Venus. Now, this is an English translation, so we missed Sanskrit. One of the nuances of the Sanskrit is a little bit lost in this particular wording. The position of the 10th Lord, including the Navamsha sign, reveals the type of business. Might be the way I would want to actually publish the translation. So the 10th lord is Venus. Venus is in Virgo in the 9th house. But what is the Navamsha lord of Venus? So on this smaller chart here is Navamsha, and you see Venus is in Gemini, Navamsha. So it's very mercurial. And the lord of the Navamsha sign of the 10th lord reveals the type of business. So what do you do with this? Now you know that Mercury is supposed to tell you something about my type of occupation. What do you do with it? He's going to give 7 verses. So the next 7 texts that he's going to give, which we'll look at next week, is going to be, if Mercury is the lord of your Navamsha sign, of your 10th lord, here's some examples of the businesses you probably get involved in. So that's one thing, is just look at his key, just look at his table and see. The other thing is he's actually saying, look at the position of that 10th lord, and look at the position of the Navamsha lord of the 10th lord. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of, especially in my chart, it's kind of compelling to say, wow, all right, look at that. Mercury in the 8th house. Venus in the 9th house. 10th lord is in the 9th house, and the 10th lord's Navamsha lord is in the 8th house. The person's a philosophical astrologer. That's one. It's pretty easy to get to that conclusion from that. That's one way to do it. Yeah, so here are the notes. 10th lord is Venus. Venus's D9 lord is Mercury, which is in the 8th house. Or the 11th. It's not in the 11th house. It's in the 4th house. Oh, I'm sorry. The D9 lord. See, there's all kinds of ways. It's not clear. Well, what did he actually do? So the 10th lord is in the D9 11th house. So that's another layer to put into this. It's in the 11th house. You can also say it's in the 9th house. What he says in the 5th statement is, if Mercury is this lord, then you'll probably be involved in study, wordsmithing, or astrology, and other things. Well, those are the 3 that I just picked out. All right, so now let's see how the technique works on Papa, the software engineer. His 10th lord is also Venus. All of our 10th lords are going to be Venus. His 10th lord's Navamsha. Let's find it in the Navamsha. Venus in the Navamsha is in Sagittarius. So his Navamsha lord of the 10th lord. The Navamsha lord of the 10th lord is Jupiter. And Jupiter is in his 11th house. So he better be working either in entertainment or finance. And it's in the 7th house in the Navamsha. Ooh, 7th and 11th. So I think when you have 8th and 11th, 8th and 9th, you're getting philosopher, astrologer. 8th and 11th, if you go with it that way, then you're getting media astrologer, like a YouTuber. Then if you're getting, my dad's case, 11th and 7th, it's got to be finance. 7th in the context of the 11th house is going to be about selling and buying. If you do it that his 10th lord is in the 8th house, and then the 10th Navamsha lord is in the 11th house, 11th and 8th, it's more complex. Maybe it's like his son, but it's in the opposite order. It's more complex. Maybe it has to do with sexuality. But what he says, Mantreshwar says in the 6th text, is if Jupiter is this planet, who is the Navamsha lord of your 10th lord, then you're probably involved in banking. Because Jupiter it represents the bank or the storehouse or the fat, the place where things are stored. And sure enough, he's a software engineer for banking institutions primarily. Then for Mama, the hairdresser / Mama. Again, 10th lord is Venus. Venus's D9 lord is Mercury. Why so? Oh, look at that. Her Venus is in the Gemini Navamsha of Taurus. My Venus is in the Gemini Navamsha of Virgo. So Mercury is important to her career, therefore, according to this technique. Whereas Mercury, it's in her 7th house. What does that tell you? She's a wife. Something like that. Maybe. It could lead you to that right conclusion. Or sixth house. Why am I saying 6th house? I should probably go a little slower. It's 12th house. And then Navamsha, it's 12th house. So that would be like not much of a career, or in a foreign place or something. Oops. And as for Mercury, it's at the same thing as here. Now, let me see if you guys have any questions. We'll do one more technique. We'll do this other technique now. Planets in the 10th position from the Sun, Ascendant, and Moon. Hi, Derek Scott. Thank you. Gory says, please tell why he's working in foreign country. Well, the astrology will help you know that the guy works in with foreign stuff, because the moon's position is very important to the career according to this technique, and it's in the 12th house, Sagittarius. Eddie, if the moon is the strongest planet, what's up, Eddie? If the moon is the strongest planet, do we just look at the ascendant and moon? No. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Tenth house lord in D1 chart is Moon. In Navamsha chart, Moon is placed in the 1st house in the sign of Aries. Then Mars is going to tell you. Is my mother quite intuitive? No. Maybe. My mom is a real work of art. For your mother's chart, how do you see the 12th house playing into things? I think it's just the reduction of career. Like in my dad's case, it puts him in the background. But in my mom's case, there's more of the 12th. And you're going to see with this third technique, there's none of this. So it's just showing here's a person with not a lot of career. All right, let's look at this third part. Planets in the 10th position from the Sun, Ascendant, and Moon show the source of income. And then order it by strength. All right, Jupiter is in the 10th from the Ascendant. Oh, wow, so Jupiter should really show the source of income. You're earned by teaching, right? You're earned by having kids, but it's Jupiter in Libra. And Chitra. Ketu and Venus are in the 10th from the Moon. You see the Moon is in Gemini, so no, that's the 4th from the Moon, Vic. It's way too fast. Okay, so Rahu is in the 10th from the Moon. So Rahu should show something about the person's career. Source of income. Although the mantra sure doesn't give us any information about it. Dad's case. Software engineer. He's got nothing in his 10th house. And again, I got it wrong. He's got nothing. Okay. The Sun is 10th from the Moon. But the Moon doesn't have a 10th house. It was late. I did this at the end of the day yesterday. Should I fix these things? No. Okay, yeah. I'm going to fix these things for you guys. Sun. Is that from the Moon? Rahu. Oh my God. Which one is Rahu? Yeah. Is 10th from the moon. Let's try it now. Is it back? So in this guy, boom, now these notes are correct. Dad. Sun is good. Sun is 10 from the moon. And then mama. Well, is there anything in the 10th from the ascendant? No. Is there anything in the 10th from the moon? No. Is there anything in the 10th from the sun? No. Now, why is this giving me so much problem? Because I keep flipping 4 and 10. So maybe it would be good to walk you through it as well. So I mentioned this in the beginning of the thing. If you want to see what's in the 10th from something else, you just count 10 signs forward. So Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and then Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and then 10 is Libra. So Libra is 10th from Capricorn. So you do that from any position. You can find the 10th from anything. So my father's moon is in Sagittarius. So 10 signs forward from Sagittarius comes around to be Virgo. So the sun is in the 10th from the moon. In my mom's case, 10 from Capricorn is Libra, nothing's there. 10 from the moon is Virgo, nothing is there. 10 from Gemini is Pisces, nothing is there. So if you only use this technique, then you have no information about my mother's career. But if you mix this technique with the other two techniques that it's presented with, then maybe this is showing not much money, aka not much career. For my mom. And that would help you take the 12th house moon to mean the same thing, but not in my father's case. Alrighty. So that's the deal with Phaladipika 5.1. It showed us these three techniques, and we checked them out with 3 charts. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty interesting. Want to look at it, of course, in at least a dozen or so charts before you feel like you sort of know what it is, but at least we looked at 3. I encourage you to look at more. Check it out, get a good feeling for it. Next week, what we'll do is cover the rest of these statements. There's only 9 statements in the entire 5th chapter. We covered 1 today. The rest of them are really easy. It just says if this planet is the Navamsha Lord of your 10th Lord, then this is probably the careers. He does 7 statements like that, and then he gives a closing statement. So we should be able to fit all that in. Next week. Okay, any last questions? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Zeno O. Would having nothing in those 10th positions weaken the employment income position? I think so, but again, this is a technique that I unearthed from a 14th century text. It's not a commonly used technique. Therefore, we don't have much practice using it. And when you don't have practice using something, you don't really know the nuances of it. But I'm presenting the information for us, and you can start to work with it and start to look at it and get to know the nuances. Guys, Sanyukta and Nicola, you didn't miss anything. It's recorded. You'll just be able to go back and watch the recording. So Sham says, earlier I mentioned that most people work for someone else or are employees. So I'm thinking, this is why I think this third part that we looked at is not to be taken as the primary part. It's supportive to the other 2 parts. Yeah. Because if this is the primary part, then 70% or 80% of the population should have Saturn in the 10th house from all these positions, because they're employees. That's all they do. Thanks, Nicola. If the moon or something is in a 10th from the ascendant, the sun, you interpret it like that. The sun, maybe they work in government. They get employed by the government, or they work for some kind of authority institution. Moon, maybe they're in nursing, feeding, stuff like that. That's what the guy said. That's what Mantreshwar said in the first statement. He basically said sun equals putri. Maybe it really is patri. Moon equals matri. Sun equals shatri. So sun is going to give authoritarian work in authoritative fields. Moon is going to give work in nurturing fields. Mars is going to give work in competitive fields. Mercury is going to give work in friendly fields. Surit. Jupiter is going to give work in the other kind of Mars. It's like interesting. Jupiter is Bhratri and Mars is Shatri. They're both fraternal, but Mars is like the locker room fraternal, and Jupiter is like the helping your brother fraternal. So Jupiter is like being helpful to other people. And actually, Bhratri can be different from Bhritya, which means helping other people. Whereas when you're Bhritya, then other people are helping you. They're paying you. So anyway, and then he said Venus is Stri, work in feminine fields, work in beautiful fields. And then Saturn is Bhritya, work in the service industries or work as an employee. He's going to expand on these things next week. Tatiana says, Saturn 10 places from the sun mean poverty? Not necessarily, but it's not like you're going to... It depends on how the Saturn is, but by itself, Saturn in the 10th position from the sun indicates work as an employee. But the way that it can flip around is you may have many employees. If you have to watch your recipe. If you just tell me this recipe has cardamom in it, what does it taste like? That's what basically you just asked. If the sun is in the 10th, does it mean poverty? It's like saying, here's a recipe with chili. What does it taste like? Well, I'm sure it must taste a little bit hot. But I don't know how much chili is in it. How much rice? What are the other ingredients? What else? Is there sugar in it or salt? It's the same thing. That's a very good analogy. If you just say, I have sun in Pisces, what am I? I don't know. It's like telling me you have a recipe with marshmallows in it. Kate, if people are doing work not suited to them, should this show up in their chart? Yeah. You'll find it. This is the biggest problem with being an astrologer. People who have problems come to astrologers for help, but people who have problems have charts that have problems. So when the astrologer reads the chart, they see problems. So if you're working in something where you're not really supposed to be working, you'll see that in the chart as this person has confusion regarding their career. Many different careers. This could be one of the things that you get from Rahu being in one of the 10th positions for me. I have very different careers switched all around. At least 3. At least. Which you would also see on my palm if you get into that. So yeah, when you want to see a person that's not really working in a field, they won't really have a clear... When they say, for example, the person will come to you and say, I don't know what should my career be? Can you look at my chart and tell me? When you look at their chart, you'll be like, I don't know what this person's career should be. You know why? Because the chart represents their life. But the virtue of it is that you're a third party and you have other experience that they don't have. And you may have a mind that functions in a certain way that's helpful to analyze problems. So you may be able to look at the same data and help them figure it out. But it's not like the chart says you should be a seamstress, but the whole time you've been a cook. But obviously this chart says you should be a seamstress. I mean, that is like you're just picking up a Chinese fortune cookie. That's not really the way astrology really works. It will always reflect the native's life. And that's what makes it tough. Well, Alpha's strongest planet is the moon, and the moon is in the ascendant. Nice. And you want to take care of people, don't you? Xavier, when you interpreted the two lordships of D1 and D9, are they to be taken equally? Like I said a few times, you just asked me my opinion. It's just my opinion. This is a new technique. We're just working with it for the first time. Let's give it some time to see exactly what you're supposed to do. No, it's the opposite, Xena. Jupiter is helping others. Mars is competing with others. But competition and help both happens in a certain way. Just the Sanskrit words are interesting. Mars is Kshatri and Jupiter is Bratri. Bratri tends to mean brothers, but it also means the people whom you help. And Kshatri tends to mean enemies, and it also means competitors, and it also, both of them, Mars is a sibling-oriented planet because you compete with peers. Jupiter is more like a grandparenty planet because it helps you. It just helps and gives and helps. Anyway, I should take off. I think we've been doing this for like a long time. What's the running time on this baby? 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I think I'm going to take a break now. Thanks, everybody. I'm glad you joined me, and apparently you liked the stream a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and all that stuff so that you get the other streams that happen twice a week. Have a good day and week and year and life.